Oh, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Welcome to our Medmastery webinar. My name is Noor and I'm a medical doctor and I'm a webinar specialist here at Medmastery. Thank you so much for everyone who's with us today.
Hey everyone.
Hey Franz. Yeah, so our webinar today is on AI in teaching and research, and our host for today's webinar is the CEO and founder of Medmastery, Franz Wiesbauer. Before we get into the content of today's webinar, I want to let you guys know how you can use this platform that's currently in front of us. So if you guys look to the right of your screen, you have these three interactive icons. And so the one that's at the top, that's the chat. That's where you can say hi and get to know us a little bit. And then below that, there's this question mark icon. That's where you can submit your questions, which we'll be reviewing at the end of the webinar. And then the one that's all the way at the bottom, that's the polls icon. So it's a little bar chart icon, and that's where we'll be presenting some polls throughout the webinar so that you can engage with us a little bit more. Make sure you guys stay until the end of the webinar because we're going to have a special gift for everyone who's attending live. So with all of that said, I'll hand over the presentation to you, Franz, so that you can get started with the content.
Awesome. Let me just get ready. You need to stop sharing.
Yep.
Okay, so also again, hello from me, from Austria. It's great to see you all in the chatting in the app. It's amazing. There are so many people from so many places in the world, and that's just so exciting. Yeah, and I think without any ado, I'll get started. So let me share the screen. Initially, when we started the webinar, we had a little bit of a technical problem. It said it takes longer than normal. Noor, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Perfect. Good. And you let me know, Noor, please, if there's anything with the image, because I can't see you guys now anymore.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Perfect. Yeah. So hello from Medmastery. I don't know, maybe there are some people who don't know us yet. So just a couple of words about who we are and what we do. Medmastery offers video-based courses on essential clinical skills such as interpreting EKGs, various aspects of echocardiography, ultrasound, vascular ultrasound, coronary angiography, pacemakers, cardiac CT, MRI, mechanical ventilation, and a lot more. If you don't know us, definitely check us out. Also, we operate one of the largest medical blogs in the world called Life in the Fast Lane, which attracts over 2 million visitors each month. So why am I giving this presentation today? I'm by no means an expert in artificial intelligence in the classical sense of the term, but I'd say I'm very tech savvy, and I would consider myself a power user. We've also created a course for you called ChatGPT for Clinicians, which aims to help clinicians like yourself to understand how large language models such as ChatGPT work and how to optimally utilize them. This very short presentation is meant to provide you with a brief excerpt from this course. And by the way, the course ChatGPT Essentials for Clinicians is available for you free of charge with a complimentary Medmastery trial account. In this presentation, I would like to briefly discuss how large language models function so that you can better understand their limitations. Then I will also say a bit about prompting. And lastly, I will introduce a few tools that I use on a daily basis in my own work. But before we get started, Noor has prepared a short poll for you. The question is, how do large language models come up with their answers? What do you think? Noor, do you want to start sharing the poll?
Yes, for sure. So there's a poll which is currently visible for everyone. which Franz just presented right now. So let us know your thoughts. Remember that the polls are to the right of your screen under the little bar chart icon, just as a reminder. Okay, so I see a lot of people have begun to answer. And Franz, the majority of people have answered for the first one. So they say that they predict the next words based on training data.
That's very good. I'm super impressed, guys, because I've just given a similar presentation at a conference, at a large conference in Germany, and the listeners weren't so sure about this. So congrats on that. But to understand the strengths and weaknesses of ChatGPT, we first need to look at the, let's say, previous gold standard, Google. Google searches the web, creates an index, and then displays the content that presumably fits best, right? So, sorry, right? So it sends its spider bots around the internet. They crawl the internet. They read what's written on the internet. Then they create an index. And when you enter your search query, your search term into the Google search, Google calculates a relevancy score for the things that it has saved in the database and displays to you the results with the highest relevancy, right? That's kind of how it works. Now, ChatGPT works slightly differently. The technology behind ChatGPT is also known as large language model, or LLM for short. You can think of these LLMs like prediction machines for words. They learn from vast amounts of text and then estimate which word or phrase is most likely to come next. For example, when presented with the sentence, "The best thing about AI is its ability to," then the model calculates many possibilities. And then it says, "Learn has the highest probability," so it puts learn as the next word in that sentence. And here's the core point about this all. An LLM isn't looking for the correct answer in a database. It's looking for the most probable word, right? It looks for the next most probable word. And that's very important when you use them, because we, in our heads, we often think, okay, I'm just going to look this up and retrieve something from a database, but this is not a database. LLMs are trained in two phases. The first phase is called pre-training, and the second phase is known as fine-tuning. Both phases essentially have 4 stages. First comes data collection. LLMs are trained on a huge amount of data, basically the entire internet, books, and various other databases. Then comes the prediction part, where the LLM tries to predict answers to prompts based on its source data, based on this training data. Then comes comparison, where the LLM compares what it created to what's written in the source data. And then comes the calculation of the so-called loss function, which is basically an estimate of how far off the prediction was. Lastly comes the adjustment of the loss function. The loss function acts like a gauge for how well or poorly the model is doing when it makes a prediction. If it says the right word, the loss is low. If it gets the wrong word, the loss is high. During training, this loss is calculated continuously. The model sees how big the error was and adjusts its settings. That's basically the learning part of this whole machine. And this way, it gets better step by step. So the loss function shows how much more learning is needed and helps the model keep improving. The most important take-home message from this first part of my presentation is LLMs do not perform database queries for the correct answer. They're prediction machines for the most likely next word. And it will always come up with a word. It will always come up with a next word, right? It will never say, "Oh, I don't know that next word." It will always give you one. That's why it's not, you shouldn't consider its answers proof of or something. I mean, Google is also not, Google answer is also not proof. But if we would program a database and we don't know the answer, the database would say, "I don't have the answer," right? But an LLM will never say that. Therefore, one must always critically evaluate the answer obtained from an LLM. Let's now move on to the second part, prompting. A prompt is nothing other than the question you ask the LLM. And the way you ask determines significantly how good the answer is. There's even a job called prompt engineer. In some industries, they earn similarly to programmers. I would like to show you a few simple tips and tricks with which you can significantly improve the answers from ChatGPT. But again, before we dive into that, Noor has a question for you.
Yeah, so thanks, Franz. So we want to know from you guys how confident you feel about writing effective AI prompts. Let us know. Let us know in the poll that's currently live. Give you guys a second to answer. Okay, I see a lot of you have already started answering, and the majority of people, Franz, say that they're not confident. So C, they're not confident and they're still learning.
Got it. That's good, because that's what we are here for, right? We want to make you confident or show you how you can become more confident. So prompting, what can I say? One of the most important tricks in prompting is also known as role prompting. In this approach, you give the AI model a specific role to take on when answering the request. For example, by saying, act as a writer or act as an editor. You achieve more precise and situationally tailored responses. Next, one should clearly tell the LLM what type of text or output you want from it. For example, you can specify that it should write an essay, an email, a letter, multiple choice questions, a contract, or even compose a poem. In my prompts, for example, I often request tables to be created. By clearly stating the desired text format, the likelihood increases that the response meets your requirements. Next, one should inform the LLM which writing style to use. The model can write in an academic, creative, scientific, technical, humorous, poetic, legal, or informal manner. By specifying the desired style, the model adjusts its expression to meet the requirements and deliver a response that fits the context best. Next, it is important to tell the model in which language it should respond. This is especially important when I write the prompt, for example, in German, but I want the answer to be in English. What I often do is to specify the reading comprehension level for the model. I might say something like, write for a smart 16-year-old, or write for a non-native with good mastery of English. By the way, this is a really good sentence. I would write that down, because sometimes the LLM really creates a text that is wishy-washy, or like sounding kind of, it uses words that are too complicated. And when you add that sentence, very often it will greatly improve the readability of the text you write. To make prompting easier for you, we provide a prompting tool on Medmastery that allows you to create your prompts in just a few clicks. This is available with the free trial account, and you can find it at the top of the navigation at Medmastery. And here's a quick video where I show you how to use it. So basically, I tell it to act as a writer. The type of text I specify is an abstract. The style, I say, write should be medical. Then tone of voice, professional. Length of text, 250 words. And then I tell it to give me the output as plain text. Then I give some fictitious study results. I copy the code to the clipboard, and then I go over to ChatGPT, paste that prompt, and out comes a really well-written abstract that you could use for a paper. Talking of which, most journals these days have guidelines about the usage of these AI tools. Like here, for example, the New England Journal, in the guidelines for their authors, they say that authors must disclose at submission of the manuscript whether AI-assisted technologies were used to produce the submitted work. So you can use these tools, you just need to state so clearly at submission. So AI tools, we're heading, we're reaching the final third of my presentation. But before we start, again, Noor comes with a question.
Yeah, thanks, Franz. So we want to know a little bit from you guys. Which of these AI tools do you find the most useful? So there's a new poll available. Let us know your thoughts. And if it's not listed here, let us know in the chat if there's something else.
Yeah. Some people try to answer the poll in the chat, right? That's actually the poll function.
Yeah, so in case you're answering in the chat, please actually go ahead to the poll icon. It's the third one down to the right of your screen. And then, okay, so yeah, so as I thought, the majority of people say ChatGPT is the most useful. Some other people have said others.
And what's the next most popular after ChatGPT and others?
Just give me a second, wait. Okay, so majority of people say ChatGPT. The second one is Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is Perplexity.
Got it. A lot of people in the chat are also saying Copilot. So that's good to hear that you guys are using various different tools. I think we have a pretty savvy user base here, like in this webinar. Yeah. These are some of the LLMs that most of us at Medmastery use in our daily lives. First, there's the well-known ChatGPT, Claude, which is especially popular among programmers, and Google's Gemini. All of these tools offer both free and paid versions. And then there's also Grok, but I think we at Medmastery, I personally use it when I need to search Twitter or X. Me personally, I use ChatGPT the most, followed by probably these days Claude and then Gemini. But these three tools, their responses rely primarily on their training data. But some of them, they can also, or actually all of them, they can also search the web for the answer. But when I want the LLM to base its answer on web results, I really prefer Perplexity, because it is really good at searching the web and then distilling what it found down into an answer. And the great thing is also these days, it has a browser, the Comet browser, which is super helpful. By the way, ChatGPT just launched its Atlas browser, I believe today. I've already played around with it a bit. I personally still prefer Perplexity's Comet browser for various reasons that we might touch upon in the Q&A session. But here's, I show basically Perplexity looks up the response, the answer to a question in a database, similar to what Google does, and then uses the LLM to create the answers. And obviously, this is now a Perplexity search. You see, it searches the web before it actually then comes up with an answer. And the great thing about Perplexity is also you can tell it which LLM to use. You can tell it use OpenAI's GPT-5, use Claude, use Gemini, use DeepSeek. You are very flexible in this way. Perplexity is really worth checking out. You can run certain tasks that you wanted to perform on a regular basis and things like that. So I'm a great fan, and the Comet browser for me is now my default browser. Then Consensus, some of you actually said that you're using Consensus already, and I think that's great. The problem with performing a medical search on many of these LLMs is that you can't really trust that they use the kinds of sources that you would like, meaning that they base their answers on scientific data. Just like with the search on Google, the LLM might base its answer on answers it found in a forum or things like that. But Consensus bases its answers exclusively on over 200 million indexed papers. And I find it to be really great. So here, for example, I ask it, is social media associated with negative effects on teenagers' mental health? And by the way, this is there's a free version to Consensus, but if you want to dig a little deeper, the paid version is really, really nice. Remind me, Noor, it comes at what cost per year?
120.
120. And then when you have the pro version, you can actually you can let it perform a systematic review for you, a meta-analysis on pretty much any topic, which is really great, especially for topics where you're not an expert in yet, and you just want to see what the data is leaning towards. And so the way this works, here again, a short movie, I click search, it searches the web, you see how many papers it identifies, you see a barometer, like here 58% say yes, then how many papers say no to my answer. Then you see key papers and what the methodology of these key papers are. Then the top contributors to the answer, the top journals where the papers were published. Then you see here, you can see all the papers. When you hover over these papers, a preview opens like this. You get a little more information. You see well, there are holes in the literature. So this is really, really great and really thorough. And I use Consensus almost on a daily basis. There's another tool. Maybe this is also interesting because you can filter the papers for various things, like give me the answer only based on RCTs or meta-analyses. And then it will basically rewrite the answer with only these types of papers included in its review. So this is very thorough and very strong, I must say. Then there's OpenEvidence, which is very similar. There's a lot of hype about OpenEvidence. I believe it's not as great as Consensus, quite frankly, but the big advantage is, as of now, it's free, and they have contracts with JAMA and New England Journal of Medicine. So it will base most of its answers on papers published in one of these journals or the affiliated journals. So there's like JAMA Cardiology and stuff like that. So they can use papers to all of these. And I did a short video here. Again, the same question. It analyzes the question and it will give me the output. And I would say the output is solid, but it's not based on as many papers as in Consensus. And I also did an overview video where I basically downloaded a very recent meta-analysis from the Lancet, and as kind of the gold standard, then I performed a search with Consensus, excluding meta-analyses, and to see if it gives me a similar answer, right? If it can reproduce this gold standard. And I gave that to a lot of other tools, and I found that Consensus did the best job at giving me an answer to the question that the meta-analysis also answered. So I think for me, as of now, I'm sticking with Consensus. Here's some other tools that are doing a similar job. One is called Cite, which I'm not using quite as often. And in my review with that meta-analysis that I told you about, it didn't really fare as well. Elicit is great and very thorough, I think, but it's just quite a bit more expensive. So I bought a subscription to Elicit to do this video, but then the review ended up being too to include too many papers. So during the process, it asked me to upgrade, and I kind of didn't like that, the experience, how that worked. But I think it looks very, very solid. Future House, what I like about this is here I can also search clinicaltrials.gov, which I personally really like. You know, I want to be informed about trials that are on the way in various areas of the world. So this is quite a nice feature here. Then we have also created a GPT for you. It's called MedTutor. It's supposed to be your Socratic teacher, helping you to deconstruct medical topics, right? So it kind of like teaches you medical concepts in a back and forth manner. Check that out. It's freely available for anyone who has a ChatGPT account. And then there's NotebookLM, and I've seen from the comments, from the answers to the last question, that some of you are already using NotebookLM. And I think if you haven't checked it out, it's really, really fantastic. So here's what it does. Basically, here you can import source materials. Like here I have imported a scientific paper, but you can also add websites, you can add YouTube videos, and then they will all be listed here. Then you can interact here with these materials. It gives you a short overview. This particular paper was about AI exposure reduces endoscopist performance in colonoscopy. And what's really, really neat is you can create an audio overview, which is basically like a podcast interview, a podcast conversation about this paper. And I have an excerpt here for you. And you can also create a little overview video, and I'm going to show you that as well. Sometimes, you know, oftentimes people send me scientific papers, and I'm like super busy, and often I don't have time to read them. So I just import them into NotebookLM. There's also an app on the phone. So I import them, I create an audio overview, and then when I'm in the car or on the bike, I just listen to the audio overview, and it's a huge time saver. So this is what such an audio overview created from this scientific paper sounds like.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are wrestling with a really interesting paradox that's emerging in medicine. Mm-hmm. It's about artificial intelligence. You know, that holds this incredible promise, making experts better, faster, maybe safer.
Right, especially in diagnostics, spotting things humans might miss.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But what if that same tech, you know, the thing that helps so much, actually starts to wear away at the core skills we need when the tech isn't available? Welcome back to the deep dive.
Okay, sir. So this is amazing. I mean, like also the way these voices speak, I think they've figured out a really great way how to keep the listener engaged. It's just really, really awesome. And then here's the video that it created.
We hear it all the time, right? Artificial intelligence is going to completely change medicine. It's this brilliant new assistant that can help doctors catch diseases way earlier and more accurately. I mean, what's not to love? But a really fascinating new study suggests there might be a catch, an unexpected and honestly kind of concerning side effect to this whole new partnership. So let's just dive right into that provocative question. I think we all just assume that giving a doctor a powerful new tool like AI can only be a good thing.
Right. So, and it continues, and it has, it filled this video with a lot of really useful imagery that helps you understand the topic better from the paper. Oops. And then there's one more tool I want to share with you because I'm using it really on a daily basis. And this tool is called AudioPen. And AudioPen serves as my notebook that I have with me all the time, because basically what it can do is you just dictate your fuzzy thoughts into AudioPen. Sometimes when I'm like, I need to write this in that email or a post to the team, or I have some other idea, I dictate it. Then I can tell it what language to create the output in, and how to write it. Most of the time I say short and clear, but you can also tell it to write it in a more medical or scientific or bullet points or whatever. And then I have it saved in there in the app. But they also have a browser extension. So next time I'm on my computer, I just click the browser extension and I have all my notes right there in front of me. So AudioPen is a really neat little tool that I like very much. And with that, I'm actually already at the end of that more formal part, and we can enter into the Q&A session.
Yeah, so thanks, Franz, for that presentation. If you guys have questions for Franz, please submit them into the Q&A section so that we can review them. Okay, so I'll say we can go ahead and start. There's a question which states, which AI tools do you find most useful for teaching medical concepts?
For teaching medical concepts?
Yes.
Depends on what exactly, how you want to teach. Do you want to teach in the form of a presentation? Do you need to teach in the form of a podcast or something? I personally very often, and also it depends on how well I understand the topic, right? So if I'm already an expert in the topic, then obviously I already know what I'm going to teach, and maybe I'll create some AI-based images, or I use Nano Banana, which is Gemini's image tool, which is really neat because you can then, when you're already more expert and you know what you need in terms of images, you can actually get something online, an image that you think could be suitable. Then you give it to Nano Banana, tell it how to modify it, because very often these tools you need the image slightly differently. And Nano Banana, Gemini's AI image tool, is really good at modifying it. But sometimes, when I'm starting at the other end of the spectrum, like I'm not understanding a topic well, then I first deconstruct the topic. And for that, I might use NotebookLM, or there's also, or our MedTutor GPT, or Khan Academy has a GPT called Tutor Me, which is also really great at helping you understand a topic, because sometimes it's better if ChatGPT doesn't give you the full answer, but more like in a Socratic back and forth kind of way. Or I might say, how explain this to a 12-year-old, right? Because then it kind of helps you make things easier. I don't know. There's so many possibilities, and maybe if we could narrow down the exact use case, I can be a little more specific.
Okay, great. Are there more use cases that you guys want to know?
We can do the other ones because there's some upvoted ones. Let's do those first.
Sounds good. Okay, the next upvoted one is, what's the most effective way to check the accuracy of AI-generated medical answers?
What I always do, and obviously there might be other ways in which you can do that. I always have, for important things, I have multiple LLMs in Google open, right? So I ask the same question with this tool, with that tool, Perplexity, and then to find if there's consistency or not. If there's not consistency, then obviously that tells you that you need to dig deeper and do your own research. I think ChatGPT and co suffer from the same problems that Google also suffers from, because with our blog on Life in the Fast Lane, for example, Mike, who is the mastermind behind Life in the Fast Lane, also does medical eponyms, like where we, things that are named after certain doctors. And very often the answers to, like, for example, why was something named after such and such person? Google doesn't have the right answer. We know, we have the original literature to prove that that it was named after this and that person, and not the other person with the same name. But if Google has the wrong answer, then ChatGPT will very likely also have the wrong answer, and it's very hard to then get the correct answer out of any of these tools. So I think you just need to apply the same kind of reasoning that you apply when you search for an answer on Google. And yeah, it's I think there the human factor and you always have to doubt the answer. I think in my mind, I find it, LLMs are not good answer machines. They're great at certain tools, at certain tasks. Like, for example, when they help you rewrite a text or make a text simpler or turn a text into multiple choice questions, right? Or check a document for something, right? That's where they excel. But because they're just word prediction machines, they are not really perfect at answering your questions. And so that's where tools like Consensus, for example, come in.
That's really interesting. Thanks. I think we can move on to the next question that we have. I think the answer is pretty similar to what you already spoke about, but I can read out the question. It says, how can we trust the output of LLMs if they are word prediction machines rather than databases of facts?
Yeah, I mean,
kind of similar.
You either need to base, if it's a medical question, you need to use tools like Consensus. You need to, for example, if you know that a certain answer is almost certainly found in a guideline, you could upload the guideline to NotebookLM, interact with the guideline there, or take all the guidelines that are relevant for you, upload it to a NotebookLM project. Then you have your source of truth. Otherwise, there's no way for you to really prove this, that it's true.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question that we have, which was upvoted, how do you see AI changing medical education over the next 3 to 5 years?
This is a topic that we actually think a lot about. And it normally starts with the question, what is the job of a clinician even in something like 10 years, right? Like, what will they need to do? And that's kind of, that's almost impossible to predict, because already the people at Anthropic and OpenAI are predicting that millions of jobs will be lost. And initially, we always thought, yeah, the more mechanical types, blue collar work will be replaced. But actually, no, it's the jobs that you perform with your head that are more in danger, because that's where ChatGPT and co are so good at, right? So I believe that, and that's something I always also tell my kids and our students, is we come from a paradigm where answers were the valuable thing, right? Like when you only had libraries, the guy who had, or girl who had all the books in their head and all the answers in their head was creating a lot of value. But these times are gone. Answers are abundant. What's valuable now is the right question. The person that asks the good and right question will be ahead of everyone else, right? So the thing that we need to ask ourselves is, how can we create individuals that can ask the good questions, right? Because a good question, well formulated, is half the battle, maybe even more. So I think asking really good questions, then I think that certain skills will never be out of fashion, like being able to communicate well, right? Critical thinking, clear thinking, being able to write well. Why do I like writing so much, and why do I stress writing so much? Is because clear writing is a sign of good thinking. Then yeah, so communication skills. Those are the things, the areas where I think will need more knowledge in young doctors. But also, there are certain universities now that are offering a dual degree, of a tech and medical degree. So I think that is an interesting perspective. I think that more and more what we do will be technology enhanced problem solving. Already, I mean, basically medicine to a large degree is technology enhanced problem solving, because almost everything we do in a hospital is basically using technology, but it will just be more extreme. So, and also I think everyone will constantly need to experiment with these tools. These are just some tools I talked about. There are way more tools, and we will need to stay on top of these tools and to be able to use them. And that's what we also need to teach young clinicians.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Franz. Our next question is, it states, do you think AI will eventually replace certain research tasks, or will it always need human supervision?
Mm-hmm. So will it always need human supervision? I think we will definitely at some point get to a point where it won't. I don't know how far away that is. But I think that there are certain, I mean, the question is specifically about research tasks, right? And
Yes.
so I think in research, I mean, I did lots of research myself, both in the lab and then also in clinical science. And I did meta-analyses. For example, like that, if you just take that example, like there's one tool that's called Sylvie AI, and they are helping you take care of all the tedious work relating to meta-analyses, right? Like when I did my Cochrane review, you know, I printed out all of these folders first with all the abstracts, right? And then I distributed these thick folders to my coworkers, right? And then you had to have two reviewers review every abstract and then say, yeah, this is we can include this, we can't include that, right? These are things that are tedious. The printing, the review part, this will be greatly enhanced, right? So I think then, you know, like stuff like protein folding, prediction of how proteins are folding, or predictions of what substances that we already know might be help for diseases that they're not currently used for. Things like that, I think there are going to be major breakthroughs. And I think human creativity will always be valuable. It's just maybe it's also just hopeful, but it's
we're hoping for that.
Well, you know, like I think if you think a little bit about epistemology, right, and how knowledge is created, then first, like if you are Popperian, if you follow Karl Popper, famous Austrian philosopher, then he said that new knowledge is not just created because we observe stuff in the real world and then we can induct a rule, but he said at the beginning there's always a conjecture, and this is then either verified or falsified with evidence, right? And the conjecture part is a creative act. And I believe that this is, as of now, fundamentally human, because what ChatGPT does and it's trained on data that's already there, and it's trained to predict stuff that it has already seen somewhere somehow, right? So there are quite a lot of things that we're far away from anything that is close to replacing humans as of now. And there are some people even who say that it's never going to happen. I'm a little more on the side that I think it will happen. It's just the question, when will we reach this?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for the answer, Franz. We can move ahead to some of our other questions. I see a couple here. There is a question about consensus. It states, can consensus exclude retracted papers and poor quality papers?
Retracted that's so poor quality. That answer I can give you. You have, maybe you've seen in that video that I showed, you have a filter and you can tell it what papers to include in its answer, and there you can say what journals it should source from, and it classifies these journals based on quality of the journal. I'm guessing it's impact factor that it uses. And so it says only use Q1 or Q2, Q3 and 4 journals, right? So you can tell it to only use very prestigious journals. Retracted, I'm blanking. I'm not sure if retracted is if they actually remove a retracted paper from their database. I would hope so, but I can't answer that for sure.
Okay, great, thanks. We have a question about patient education. Which tool is best for patient education purposes?
I think they're all very good. I personally sometimes really have liked Gemini, the way Gemini formulates these more basic answers. I must say, but for this purpose, I would probably default to either ChatGPT or Gemini, and I would specifically, obviously tell it what situation it's used for. So, like, you need to tell it it's patient education. You should tell it, the maybe the reading comprehension level. Not maybe you won't read it out to the patient, but still, so you simplify it to the level of the patient's understanding. I really like to simplify for kids, simplify for a 10-year-old. Because a lot of that stuff is actually also super helpful for people who are older than 10, right? Because if you tell it to simplify quantum mechanics for a 10-year-old, you'd be surprised at how insightful that is, because then you can always go deeper, right? So, but I'd use ChatGPT and Gemini for that.
Okay, great, thank you. Let me look at the next question. Which AI agent can I use to transcribe or write online meeting minutes?
There are quite a couple of tools. I think we use a MeetGeek at the company. It joins your online meetings. There's an app you can use on the phone. You can put it on the table. It does a really good job. But Zoom also comes with an AI tool that transcribes this. I think one is called Granola. It's also quite a helpful tool. And these tools are, I would say, my preferences: MeetGeek, Granola, Zoom's built-in tool. Yeah, just make sure that you always let people know that you're using these tools, because data protection wise, you're required to do that.
Yeah. Okay. There is a question here about teaching. It says, if I wanted to create an, oops, I got lost. 1 second. If I wanted to create an outline for an ECG course, what would be the best tool? Or how would you create it, I guess?
I think this is one topic that we cover quite a bit in the ChatGPT Essentials course. I'm a big fan of outlines because your text will be so much better if you start more granular and then go more detailed, right? I personally always default to ChatGPT for that purpose. It does a great job at helping you deconstruct that topic. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And you know, if you could, you can actually use a browser like Comet from Perplexity, or now also the newly released Atlas browser from ChatGPT, and then you can go and to a site like Amazon, and you can say, look for the most popular ECG books, look at the index of those books. I'm guessing that they're usually available. And then, you know, research, like find out how others are structuring their ECG teaching. And then based on what these others do, give me a suggestion for an outline. And then you will see how it actually starts using your browser, clicking on the various, looking for ECG books, and then creating an outline. You could play around with that. But yeah, there are many ways how to solve that one, I guess.
Okay, great. And then our next upvoted question is about infographics. It says, what are the best AI to create infographics from papers?
From papers, I would actually go with NotebookLM. It's not strictly an infographics tool, though, I must say. But it is useful for that. It creates mind maps, which you can then use. Infographics, I must say, nothing comes to mind immediately. I would have to do some research myself.
Okay. I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Let me look through them. Is there a risk that clinicians rely too heavily on AI tools without fully understanding their limitations?
Oh, for sure. I'm just talked to Mike from Life in the Fast Lane about this, and he just told me that there was like this patient with this atypical rash, treatment related, and that these young clinicians, when he asked them to create a differential diagnosis, they all went and used some AI tool, and since it was not such a super common thing, none of them had the correct answer in the differential. I think we're already relying a lot on these tools, and I think everyone who's using this a lot notices that certain skills are atrophy, right? If you use it to write, then you'll have at some point have problems writing yourself, right? If you use it to create differential diagnoses all the time, you'll be unable to create your own differential at some point. So I try to use these tools as a way to upgrade my mind, right? As an extension. My expectation of myself is that I'm trying to get better with these tools, not to replace an aspect of my brain with these tools, because these aspects of my brain will then atrophy and will be gone. So maybe that's another thing that we need to, when there was this question about like the future of medical education, I think this is going to be a big challenge. Like, how, with these models getting more powerful and powerful, how can we make sure that the muscle, the brain, like the brain muscle is getting stronger at the same time? How can we do better work with these tools, not do the same work but more effortlessly, right? That can't be the solution. And so I think the way a lot of people are using it now is they're just trying to get the same output and the same results with these tools, which obviously will make them weaker. But we should try to get better results with these tools and upgrade our minds.
Right. Okay, thank you so much, Franz, for answering all of these questions. I think we should move ahead and move on to the last section of our webinar. Just a second. Can you see my screen, Franz?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So as promised at the beginning, we have a special gift for everybody who's attended live today. Our special gift is that for the next 72 hours, everyone who's attended live will get 30% off of Medmastery Pro membership. And that's not all. If you redeem this Pro membership at 30% discount, you'll also receive free Consensus AI access for up to 1 year. So you'll be able to save up to 42%. And the way that you can redeem this offer is you can click the link below. And when you're at the checkout for the Medmastery Pro membership, all you need to do is click the checkout and then type in the code AIWeb125, and you'll be able to redeem this offer. And just keep in mind that once you become a Medmastery Pro member, one of our team members will reach out to you with the Consensus AI access details per email.
Yeah, we've just built a relationship with Consensus. We're working closer together with them because we really like what they're doing. And they've offered us this exclusive deal, if you will, for users of Medmastery. And I think this is something that we're really excited about, because that gives more of our users access to this, what we think, really cool tool. So yeah, I think it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, go ahead and click the link below and use the code AIWeb125 to redeem this offer.
And maybe make a screenshot of the slide.
Yes.
Okay.
And if your organization or team are interested in a similar webinar, then please reach out to us at sales@medmastery.com. We'd be really happy to speak with you further and discuss things.
Yeah, and this webinar, and even though the email address is sales@medmastery, it's if you have like your local society or something would like to have a webinar like this to their constituents, obviously we wouldn't, this would be free of charge. We want to get as many people as possible on the AI train and train as many people about these things. And also keep your eyes open, because we'll have more webinars like this, because obviously we're going to update with new tools, with new findings, and much more. So definitely keep your eyes open, because there'll be more webinars coming your way very soon.
Yes, exactly. Keep your eyes open on your emails, and we're going to have more webinars coming up. And lastly, we'd like to know from you how useful this webinar was. So we'd like your feedback so we can iterate and improve in our next one. So there's another poll, and that's the last one for today.
On your right-hand side, there's a little poll icon. You click that, and then you can choose the answer.
Yeah. Thanks. Let us know your thoughts over there. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Franz, for all your thoughts and the presentation.
Thank you for organizing this, Noah, and thanks everyone for showing up. It's always great to interact with you guys live, and yeah, hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
See you. Bye.